This podcast contains paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap podcast, where I discuss how you can grow your business by the bootstraps. This applies to everyone with an entrepreneurial spirit. That includes bootstrappers just starting out, established business owners, and business leaders. My goal is to help you grow both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Isaiah O'Connor. Hello, and welcome back. And today's sponsor is Audible, audible.com. What is Audible? It's the world's largest repository of audiobooks, as well as some other audio offerings, such as lifestyle, podcast, college lectures, etc. Very great place to get some information if you're very, very busy because you're a bootstrapper, an entrepreneur, a business leader. It's really good to read books. The most successful people read a lot of books. And the easiest way to quote unquote read books is to listen to them while you're driving, doing dishes, exercising. Because if you're like me, you don't have a lot of extra free time to sit down and relax and read a book. It's very helpful to be able to listen to books while you do other things. And of course, they're a sponsor. You check them out. You get a free trial. You get one audio book and 30 days where you can listen to a whole bunch of select titles, Audible originals, podcast, etc. You can go over there. It's normally $14.95. You get a 1 month free trial and a free audio book. And if you go over to audible.com/bootstrap, bootstrap with a capital B. And the book I highly recommend is EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey. It's a great book. It's a lot of amazing information about how to grow, how to run your business, how to operate, how to bootstrap. Quite honestly, it's kind of like the bootstrapper version of a bootstrap book. Kind of. Because it's talking about how Dave Ramsey bootstrapped his business from a card table into a massive business that has over 500 employees and still growing. And it's a step-by-step how he did it, how he led, how he hired, how he fired, how he built up, how he encourages employees, how he leads his teams, how he prepares for the future, how he markets. All that good stuff is all crammed into this book called EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey. It's amazing. You can go get a free copy forever by going over to audible.com/bootstrap with a capital B. That's audible.com/bootstrap to get your free trial and, of course, your free copy of EntreLeadership. And not only that, but you keep it forever. Even if you don't keep the free trial, you keep the book forever. It's amazing. Go check them out. And speaking of leadership and hiring, today I'm talking about when are you ready to hire? When is it time to hire? When you start up your company, you're wearing all the hats, you're doing the work, you're doing the marketing, you're doing your own web design, or at least attempting to, etc. And you're finally building up your business a bit, you're growing, you're getting customers. When can you know that you are now ready to hire? And I did some looking and researching, and there's a few indicators that were pretty common across the board, which is when you start having to turn away work, when you start getting customer complaints because you're having to rush through things and not able to do things right, when you have a fairly steady revenue stream so you can hire an employee, when you need a day off, a vacation, or if you need to hire for a specific skill set, i.e. you run a web design company and you need somebody who specializes in Java coding or something, I don't know. But you need a specific skill set for your company. So you're operating a marketing company and you build websites and you're good at website design, but you need someone that's good at SEO, search engine optimization, you hire that person. So these are some indicators of needing to hire somebody. Now, before you get to the point, there's one thing I have to caution. You need to make sure that you're thinking about hiring well before you need an employee. You need to think about who you want to hire first. You need to think about what position they're going to have, and you're going to be wanting to know who you have in mind, the type of person you want to hire and you need in your company. And I'll be going into the how to hire, who your first hire should be soon. But one thing about hiring, you need to make sure you take your time to hire. You don't want to rush. You don't want to hire the first person you interview after 30 seconds. You need to make sure you get a good, solid hire. Matter of fact, Dave Ramsey in the book EntreLeadership, he talks about the hiring process his team uses, and it's around 90 days, plus or minus, around 90 days. Every time he hires an employee, it takes 90 days before he gets an employee from the application to onboarded. 90 days plus. He takes his time. He makes sure he gets a good, solid hire, and he keeps his turnover rate way, way, way low because he hires great people to begin with, and therefore he doesn't have to fire them, and they don't tend to quit because of this, because he takes the time to hire good. So when you're hiring, when you're ready to hire, you want to be looking forward, looking for watching how you're growing, watching your business so that you know you're going to need to hire soon, and start the process before you need it today. You got to do this in advance. You'll get a better shot. Yeah, sure, you can hire somebody and say, hey, come and work for me, and hire them on the spot, and maybe they'll be great, maybe they'll be horrible, maybe they'll steal from you. Who knows? You don't know. You got to get a good person, but if it's an emergency, you don't know what you're going to get. You may get lucky, you may not. But you want to make sure when you need to hire, you got to make sure that you're planning to hire well before it becomes an emergency panic hire. You don't want to panic anything. Panic hire, panic decide. You don't want to do that. Bad idea. So let's look at the first one here. You're turning away work. That's the number one indicator I've seen across the board when I looked up, when are you ready to hire as a small business? And that's a pretty big indicator. When you cannot keep up with the workload, when people call you to hire you and you have to turn them down because you've already been booked, you're double booked, you're on an event, on a day, on a time, or you just don't have the time to get it done, where you're so busy you just can't take on any more work and you have to start turning down jobs, that's a pretty good indicator you need to hire somebody else so that you can grow. Again, you do need to grow. So if you have to turn down work because you can't be in two places at the same time, that's a good indicator you need to hire. Now, if you're getting complaints, that's another indicator that you need to hire. If your quality goes down because you're unable to keep up with the pace, so that your work starts slipping because you start rushing, cutting corners, hurrying, etc., and you start getting complaints and customers getting upset because you're not able to provide the high quality of good or service that you used to, then you probably should get hired or hire somebody. Matter of fact, one YouTube channel I'd like to watch, they reviewed a product and they found this product to be great, and then people watching the YouTube channel ordered the product, and the product they got was subpar, basic details of the product that anybody can make at home were not done correctly, and they were just sloppy and lazy, and they delivered a bad product. And being a pretty decently large YouTube channel for this community that people were buying their product, when they came out and said, hey guys, just to warn you, these guys started shipping out bad products, that hurt their company really bad because they started getting sloppy. And quite honestly, it could have been because they got reviewed by a fairly big YouTube channel. They got a lot of people coming in and they could not keep up with the pace. And so they started letting their work slip. So that's a good indicator that you need to hire some help. Of course, as I said before, this one's pretty straightforward. You need a skill set, a specific skill set. You need somebody that can do something in particular. For example, you're pretty good at sales, but you're horrible at marketing. You might want to hire in a marketer. or you might want to hire an accountant to run your books, or you might want to hire somebody who can drive a forklift or whatever. You need a specific detailed skill set. That's again another time you're going to need to hire is when you need somebody with the skill set to do it. And of course, you want to have a fairly steady revenue before you hire, because you don't want to hire somebody and then not be able to make payroll. And not being able to pay your employees and pay the taxes on them and everything else is a scary thing. I've been there. Hiring an employee and being worried about being able to pay them, yeah, that can be scary. And the plus side of this is when you have employees that rely on you to pay them, and you don't want to let them down, and you want to make sure that you're the good boss, taking good care of your employees and paying them, and maybe you're paying them a good salary. I'm going to have a whole segment on compensation. Then if you're paying them and you need to pay, well, that extra pressure can help you step up your game to make sure you get enough jobs to make sure your employee gets paid. It actually helps you bring your game on, because now it's not just you in the company that are being relied on, it's other people rely on you. So you're not just taking care of yourself, you're taking care of others, and that can help you bring up your focus and step up your game. Now, there may be a little bit of an exception to the revenue thing, and that depends on what type of position you're hired for. And I'm going to throw this in here because it kind of fits here. And it's not enough for a whole podcast, which is when you're hiring, remember you don't necessarily need to hire a full-time employee. You can hire a part-time employee, a full-time employee, or an on-call employee. And if you just need some extra help once in a while, it's a great way to start with an on-call employee. And the great thing about having an employee that's on call is you can calculate their wages into the jobs you're doing. For example, a couple years ago when I hired an employee into my business, I hired an on-call employee. And so on the big jobs I had, I was needing help because I was getting some massive jobs that were taking me hours and hours and hours to do by myself, and I needed a hand. So I brought a young man in, a young college student came in, and he was working for me on call. And whenever I did a job, I made sure that when I priced out the job and I gave a quote, I had his salary as part of that job. And so I knew that when I did that job and when he came in, as soon as I got paid for the job, I would have enough money to pay him. Therefore, because he was on call, I only paid him for the jobs he did, and the jobs he did, I would make sure and have that money budgeted out to pay him with. So it was really nice because that way I got extra help. I was able to know that I was going to pay him every time because it was based on each individual job that we did together. And I did have a couple of days where I paid him a training wage for training with me, and I didn't get extra revenue, but that's just part of the cost of doing business. But I was able to vastly increase my customer service with him help me. I even had jobs where I charged extra to have him, where I was doing a balloon clown and making balloon animals, and he was a secondary balloon twister with me. And working together, we were able to handle twice the amount of kids in half the time, making the customer more happy, making the kids more happy, and then I was able to pay him out of that job. And so he was happy, and it didn't really cost me out of pocket. Matter of fact, he made me extra money. So he was happy, I was happy, the customer was happy, and the kids were happy. And so that's a way you can hire without having a full-on revenue stream, is hire on-call, hire part-time, depending on your business model, depending on what you're doing. Of course, it doesn't work with everything like that, but there's always a way to do that. And of course, you can always hire in freelancers for a short time to do things that you need to be done. For example, you're a wedding person, you do wedding, you have the wedding venue, you host the wedding, you might bring in a freelance photographer to do the wedding photos, whatever. But freelancers are another great way to hire somebody for temporary job positions. And that's another good thing you can do is you can hire a person for a specific job as a temporary employee, and you can budget in their salary into the price of the event or job you're doing for something big, and then you can have them come on, work for 2-3 days or a month or whatever, and then at the end of that time you lay them off because it was only a temporary position to start, and they knew full well to do that. Some jobs that do this quite often are planting trees, which I did over the summer, picking fruit and berries. These are temporary jobs where you go and you work the season out and then you're done. Seasonal work, temporary work. I've done temporary work. It was my first job at a ski resort, working as a busboy over the ski season, etc. So you can also hire temp jobs or use a temp agency to fill a job position for a little while. Now, these are just some ways you can fill in job things. When do you need them? A temporary position is a great way to fill a position until you can find a good permanent hire. Remember, you want to make sure that you're able to hire before you hire, of course, and then you want to make sure that you're not in a desperate need to hire, so that you don't go out and rush out and hire a horrible hire before you can really vet them and make sure you know who this person is and they're going to provide you more than they take from you. And that's how that works. You want to make sure you hire good hires. And I've seen good hires, I've seen bad hires, I've worked with good hires, I've worked with bad hires. And it can get interesting. Hiring is a tricky thing. You want to make sure you have enough money to pay them. You got to make sure you're ready. And then you got to make sure that you have time to hire. I think that pretty much sums up if you're ready to hire. Now, of course, as always, there's lots more information about this online. My goal is to more or less just kind of point out the things that are out there, kind of point you in the right direction of where to research and where to dig in. And if you're ready to hire, there's lots of resources online. Again, great book about hiring and running your business is EntreLeadership by Dave Ramsey. You can get a free audiobook copy with your free trial over at audible.com/bootstrap with a capital B. It's a great book. A lot of hiring I learned from him. I used his hiring method in combination with a few other hiring methods to hire my first hire, and I was extremely pleased with the results. So yeah, check them out. You can go look. There's lots more information. One of the reasons you might be ready to hire is if you want to sell your company, as I mentioned in the previous podcast. So there's a lot more details. There's a lot more reasons to hire. There's a lot more indicators of if you're ready to hire or not. But before you hire, make sure you're ready. Do some research. Make sure you're not hiring out of pure panic and pure desperation. And then go out and hire somebody. Hire somebody good. A great hire can make your life easier and just help you out in your business. A horrible hire can make, life horrible. All depends. Anyway, you all go out, have a great day, and remember when you are hiring that you're not just hiring someone to help you out, but you are providing for them too. You're providing them an income. You're providing them a way to take care of some of their needs, and you're helping them out. So you help out someone by giving them a job. They're helping you out by working for you, and it's a great thing. So yeah, always focus on that. Focus on the value you provide everyone else. Focus on the value you're providing your customers, about other people, and your family. Don't forget, you should also value yourself to a degree. You have a great day. Bye-bye. If you found value in this content, please leave a comment and give us a 5-star rating on whichever podcast platform you use. We're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, and most other podcast platforms. If you would like to support us, you can check out our sponsor links, or if you'd like to support us directly, you can donate or join our membership program at buymeacoffee.com/bootstrap. Of course, it really helps when you share these podcasts with your friends as well. If you'd like to interact with me and other bootstrappers and leaders, you can join us over at our O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast Facebook group. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, an Atheoz Business Solutions podcast. For a companion podcast, the Atheoz Business Podcast, which is hosted by Jason St. Clair, past episodes and related blogs, please check out our website at www.atheoz.com, which is at www.atheoz.com or theoz.com. Until next time, I have been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.